Solomon Amunde, crypto analyst, joins me for this conversation from Port Harcourt. It's a pleasure to have you in.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
All right, I mean, we know that the US is somewhat a benchmark for a number of other countries. So when the US is doing something, countries are examining and reevaluating their strategies around such things like crypto. So what do you think Africa and African leaders can take from Trump's moves right now with regards to digital assets?
Yeah, so I think Trump has made it very clear that the United States of America interest has aligned 100% with that of crypto and blockchain. They have embraced it 100%, and now they are also pushing with funding, and they are getting much more involved. So what can Africa take from it? The African leaders, what can they actually emulate from this? So first is they need to embrace the assets. Then secondly, it doesn't just end with embracing. They need to come up with strategic funding for the ecosystem, because the ecosystem is still extremely new in Africa. So it needs lots of funding, not just depending on funding from foreign countries. So I think that's like the first thing they need to do.
And of course, when you talk of funding, the investors will want to know what returns or, what they can get out of it. So what potential does Africa have, the crypto space within Africa have that would attract investors?
I didn't get the last question.
So I'm asking, right, you mentioned that we need a lot more investment here in Africa, right, that digital asset space. Obviously, it's relatively new. Just here, we just saw the SEC 2025 Act acknowledging it. So what potential does Africa have within the ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem, the cross-border payment system that would attract investment or that would get that investment to develop fully?
We have lots of areas that we can extract value from the ecosystem in terms of potential. For example, one of the most relatable is our finance and cross-border payments. If we can utilize blockchain technology, we'll be able to synchronize that and make it much easier for us to do cross-border payments. And also the charges would be way much cheaper. This is one of the easiest forms of utility that we can extract from this. At the same time, there are so many other products that are doing quite well in this ecosystem that Africa can come up with strategies to just emulate what they are doing. And then we have countries that are trying to use blockchain technology in supply chain too. This is something that Africa can also take part in. But one of the most exciting aspects is in terms of voting, since in African countries we still have lots of issues when it comes to voting. They can still embrace this technology, and it can push most of all those things to a more transparent level. So these are like some of the few ways that Africa can draw value from this tech. Right,
indeed, exciting things to hear. But then, also looking at the role partnership will play within Africa, within the continent, what needed partnerships, do we need to see happen so that we can see the pair of mining or stablecoin partnerships, given Trump's interest in Bitcoin mining and USDT?
Well, I think first, Africa still, before we start talking about that, the government needs to show goodwill by trying to invest in education when it comes to blockchain and crypto. Then in terms of partnership, I think it's easy to partner with industry leaders, including the decentralized exchanges, because these would also help to make sure that almost everyone can easily create an account. Then also, if they can also partner with some reputable blockchains, that would also go a long way to educate the masses first, after which we can now start looking at expanding and also extracting much more value, because without proper education, most persons won't be able to come in and build in the ecosystem. That's one of the major things. And at this stage, Africa doesn't have all of the required education when it comes to blockchain technology.
So what is required? The education, right? So there's education on one.
Government needs to get involved. They need to show goodwill. By now, already right now, we're supposed to have been hearing government coming up with funding, to advance and push and support this area. If truly they have embraced it, they can't leave everything for the foreign partners. They can't wait for all the foreign partners to come in and do all of the educational exercises and funding. Government needs to show that they have skin in the game and they want this ecosystem to thrive. That's one of the easiest way for government to show that.
Okay, so we know that the space is a fast evolving space. Innovation, the technology is evolving pretty fast, but there are questions around whether or not we can keep up, or we are keeping up, especially in terms of regulation. And, that will drive adoption as well. People need trust. People need to know that, they're not waiting for the boards to drop before you come up. You discover a loophole and try to plug it with regulation. So how can African regulators perhaps balance the innovation and still, protection, the regulation around protecting those who use these this ecosystem?
Yeah, so sincerely, in terms of regulation and coming up with the right framework, that will take a while, because this is still a very experimental asset that we don't know how far it can go. It's almost limitless when we talk about the crypto ecosystem and blockchain ecosystem, because it cuts across almost everything people can think of, even agriculture, renewable energy. It cuts across a whole lot. So in terms of coming up with a legal and regulatory framework, it will take time. So I don't think government should focus too much on that. Instead, they should get way more involved and try to keep track of everything happening. Then gradually we can build up a regulatory framework over time. Yeah, because I also noticed that most other countries, they don't have their full crypto regulatory framework fully formed. They are still tweaking. In fact, in a few years, we might see tokenization of real-world assets, like in the real estate. You can see crypto and blockchain disrupting that industry too. So when you now start talking about how they can regulate things like that, it becomes extremely dicey. So I don't think so much emphasis should be placed on regulation, or should be put into regulation right now. They should just monitor, support, and also observe everything happening within the industry for the next few years.
So more investment than regulation in that sector. But obviously staying within the continent and with the pace that Trump is setting for that ecosystem, what countries here in Nigeria would you say are somewhat ahead, right, when it comes to the strength?
Companies in Nigeria?
Sorry, what countries in Africa, I beg your pardon, right, are somewhat ahead when it comes to adoption and building that framework and developing that ecosystem?
Yeah, I think Ghana is doing a fantastic job when it comes to that. Ghana.
In what terms? What are they doing that we should be doing? What's South Africa doing? Go ahead.
In terms of like a framework, I think they have a better framework kind of than Nigeria. And I'm saying this because if we notice, most of the big crypto events, they prefer doing them in places like Ghana than in Nigeria. Then I think also Kenya, they also have like a good framework too for the ecosystem. But so far, not much African countries have gotten deep into crypto. South Africa too, they're also doing well when it comes to crypto. But I feel Nigeria, in terms of our engagement, involvement, especially with the citizens, I would say among all the African countries, we have a kind of like more experience. The only difference now is the government has not aligned with the community. Else, Nigeria should be like top 2 in terms of leading when it comes to blockchain and crypto in Africa.
But do you see that alignment now? I mean, I know we've come a long way from the initial pushback and then the ban, but recently we saw, what happened with the SEC Act 2025. Would you say we're closer to it? And, how do you see African central banks? Are they ready for the disruption that this could cause?
I think we're ready. We just need to take more actions. And we need to set like KPIs and milestones, so we don't just say we're doing everything at the same time, and at the end of the day we end up doing nothing. So like I said, I feel everyone is ready. SEC is ready. I feel CBN, I feel they are all ready. It's just a matter of taking direct actions right now, and also federal government needs to show support by coming up with ways to fund most of the initiative with respect to this ecosystem.
And those initiatives being education, investment, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, education, funding, or startups relating to the blockchain and crypto space.
I mean, there's a lot of investment there. We know that Trump has been using truth socials and NFTs to build community. How do you think African entrepreneurs as well, do you think they're doing enough to support that ecosystem? Are they even buying into the ecosystem at all?
Yeah, so I think Trump was really smart to capitalize on trends and hypes in the crypto ecosystem. So you can see the Trump NFT when we still had the NFT hypes. I can't tell right now if any of the countries or their leaders choose to capitalize on NFT, if it's going to make sense. But Trump did that when the hype was there, and he has also done the same with meme coins too, while the hype was still there. So in terms of sustainability, chasing trends in crypto, we wouldn't necessarily advise that. We won't say other African countries should take that route. But as it is right now, they can still leverage aggressively on the technology, and there are still other ways that they can use to show that they mean well for the ecosystem and extract value, rather than going the route of NFTs and meme coins. There are other ways they can do that.
And hopefully we do see them adopt those other ways of supporting the ecosystem, and we're not left behind because it's fast evolving. Thank you very much for joining me this Easter Monday. Solomon Amunde, crypto analyst, joining us from Port Harcourt.